Hey everyone, What If Fan here, bringing you another exciting part of What If becoming a mangaka in One Piece world. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name on my Patreon page. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 731, This War is Decided. Chapter's Events. I owe your grandfather, but I've got no choice. You chose the path to your own death. The icy sword in Akiji's hand was already dripping with Luffy's blood, creating a chilling scene that froze the air around them. Ow! Damn it! Luffy's voice echoed with pain, his face contorted from the agony inflicted by Akiji's relentless assault. Akiji, with his cold and calculating demeanor, seemed poised to deliver the final blow. Why, you? Like a lioness whose cubs were threatened, Hancock felt a surge of intense anger boil within her. Her eyes locked onto Luffy's plight, fury burning in her gaze. Don't lay a hand on Luffy. Hancock was already sprinting toward Akiji, her determination evident in every step, but before she could reach him, someone else intervened. With a powerful kick, Akiji was sent flying away from Luffy like a cannonball, crashing into the ground with a resounding thud. Ah! Admiral! Marine soldiers couldn't believe their eyes as they saw their formidable admiral being struck down so easily. That's First Squad Leader, Marco. It became clear that Marco was firmly resolved to protect Ace's brother, standing as a fierce guardian in the face of overwhelming odds. At Marineford, Kuzan's eyebrow remained furrowed in continuous tension as he observed the unfolding scene. Sigh, it's like that dragonfly trying to stop a cart, he said, his voice carrying an air of enigma as he exhaled deeply. You mean Luffy, right? Well, we all understand why he's overcoming all these obstacles to get here, despite his apparent weakness. Sengoku spoke calmly, analyzing the previous events with a composed demeanor. That's right, his bond with his foster brother must be incredibly deep. Perhaps there will be a flashback later showing this in more detail, Zephyr added, providing further insight. But what I don't understand is this. Sakazuki pointed to the manga page where Marco had sent Akiji flying with a single kick. First Borsellino, and now your counterpart, are admirals truly this weak? The cold look on Sakazuki's face was enough to instill fear in some vice-admirals, who nervously swallowed and attempted to hide their unease. Why can this boy named Marco so easily counter an admiral? What will you do when faced with Whitebeard? Oh, I forgot, since my counterpart is also here, you don't need to worry about Whitebeard. Surely my counterpart will handle him for you. Eventually, the cold look on Sakazuki's face morphed into a mocking smile, his confidence evident. Borsellino and Kuzan exchanged glances, both engulfed in complete confusion, and eventually shook their heads in resignation. Ahem. Sengoku cleared his throat, breaking Sakazuki's moment of megalomania and drawing attention back to himself. Here. We have been deceived by Whitebeard, what a disgrace. Sengoku stated, a tone of disappointment in his voice. Finally, the atmosphere calmed entirely as they witnessed the next sequence of events in the manga. Well, who would think they have more than 3 ships? Is this his trump card? I thought he would reveal a legendary weapon. Try to be a bit more rational, Sakazuki. I don't rule out the idea of someone like Whitebeard possessing a legendary weapon, or at the very least knowing the location of one. Hearing these words, those present were lost in deep thought, pondering the implications. 3 men slipped through. Some devil fruit users have crossed the wall. Fleet Admiral. The pirates in the bay are doing something strange. Marine soldiers, standing vigilantly on top of the fortified wall, reported their observations to the Fleet Admiral. Cross the waters toward oars. We've got to get to the platform no matter what. Meanwhile, the pirates were swimming with all their might, striving to reach oars with a sense of urgency. The pirates are getting desperate. Protect the hole in the wall. Marine soldiers were frantically trying to prevent the pirates from advancing. They've gone into a frenzy after losing their ship and their ground. What idiotic pirates! Pick your targets and fire. After giving the order, the vice admiral noticed a shadow moving on the water's surface. A massive ship covered in resin emerged from beneath the water, with pirates clinging to it desperately. Hang on! Everyone get on the ship! The pirates climbed aboard the ship, which resembled the Moby Dick, with frantic energy. It can't be. A ship. Another coated ship has appeared. Crap! It was hiding on the sea floor the entire time. What? Sengoku was shocked, his composure momentarily lost. I don't remember saying those were all of our ships. Whitebeard declared with a confident grin. It's a paddle ship. It's charging at us. Sink it. Like the Moby Dick. At this crucial moment, the ancient giant oars turned his attention towards the ship. No. Not the ship. Shoot oars. The Marines tried to respond quickly, but they were undoubtedly too late. It's too late, exclaimed Whitebeard, his voice filled with conviction. Oars effortlessly grabbed the ship and lifted it out of the sea, his strength undeniable. Here we go, guys. He lifted the ship up. Back at Sphinx Island, the atmosphere inside the art store was more festive than usual, with a sense of excitement filling the air. Well done, oars. Marco clapped enthusiastically, giving a thumbs up to Oars, who was also enjoying the scene with a satisfied grin. Gorarara! I bet Sengoku didn't see that coming. Whitebeard enjoyed his wine, laughing heartily, while Stussy gently wiped the sides of his mouth with her handkerchief, her smile radiant and mature. Now that we all have solid ground beneath our feet, let's see how it plays out. Let the real war begin, Sengoku, Gorarara. Ohara. Oh. This ship that resembles Laboon has fully entered the battlefield. Yahohoho. Resembles Laboon? How so? This is a completely different type of whale, you fool. Ha? Really? I didn't notice that. Yahohoho. The important thing is this. The war has intensified. My God. Whitebeard has gone berserk. In the art store, Professor Clover had his hands on his head in shock, unable to believe the events unfolding in the next chapter. He wasn't the only one. Whether it was Brooke, Vegapunk, Saul, or other archaeologists like Homing, they were all completely stunned by the escalating war. Surely there's no turning back from here. That's right, someone will definitely die. By saying that, do you mean one side will suffer a heavy loss in this war, right? I suppose I'm also involved in this war since my latest inventions are being used here, correct? Hearing Vegapunk's question, Clover and the others nodded in agreement. Well then, this war is already decided in favor of the Marines. Vegapunk declared with a confident tone, his eyes gleaming with sadness. Yes, with the technological advancements at their disposal, the Marines hold a significant advantage. Clover added, his voice filled with certainty. But we mustn't underestimate Whitebeard's resolve and the strength of his crew, Saul cautioned, his expression serious. That's true, Homing agreed. Whitebeard is a formidable opponent, and his men are fiercely loyal. This battle will be fierce. The group continued to discuss the potential outcomes and strategies, the tension palpable as they contemplated the war's direction. Let's just hope the cost isn't too high, Brooke said quietly, his usual jovial demeanor replaced with a rare moment of solemnity. The fate of many rests on the outcome of this conflict. As the conversation continued, the atmosphere remained charged with anticipation and concern, each member of the group deeply invested in the unfolding events. Chapter 732, Whitebeard vs. Marine HQ. Chapter's Events. Whitebeard has reached the platform. Whitebeard gripped his spear-like weapon, its sharp head enveloped by the power of an earthquake. Veins bulged on his shoulders as he alerted his crew. Get down, my sons. Hearing this, the pirates retreated like a tide, then it happened. A devastating explosion, a crushing force. With one sweep of Whitebeard's weapon, hundreds, if not thousands, of Marines were felled.
Wee-awa.
The vice admirals, including Mangaka, remained standing with effort, while the three admirals did not budge an inch. Whitebeard appeared grim, aware that the stab wound inflicted by his son had significantly weakened him. But this did not deter him as he shouted, "All right, men! Let's save Ace." Whitebeard's sons gathered around him once again, raising their weapons with renewed morale.
Destroy the Marines. Garp.
On the execution platform, Sengoku rolled up his sleeves while calling to Garp, who was not far away.
Yeah, he replied. Sengoku formed a fist, saying, "We can't let this go unchallenged." Whitebeard. He looks exhausted.
Barely able to muster this much power, Garp sighed sadly at the state caused by Squarto's betrayal, speaking from the art store in the Kingdom of Sorbet. If your counterpart in Sengoku joined the battle, well, we might as well close this volume now and do what we need to do today.
Dragon sensed that the situation was turning unfavorable for Whitebeard's pirates after Sengoku announced his intention to fight. Could Whitebeard be feigning weakness?
The young crocodile's eyes gleamed with a sudden idea, speaking without thinking. Well, anything is possible with pirates and their tricks, but a great pirate like Whitebeard doesn't need to pretend, boy. Your counterpart is more rational than you, but you're still young, so I excuse you.
Boa ha ha.
Garp laughed after giving the young crocodile a lesson. Crocodile's face turned red as Garp mocked him in front of everyone, but he kept his anger in check to avoid Garp's infamous fist of love, which hurt for a whole week. Another pirate might pretend, but Whitebeard is different. He's already an old man, eagerly awaiting to see how Whitebeard's journey will end in this sea. Perhaps it won't be less epic than Roger's end, right? Said Garp.
What's special about Roger's end in the manga? Didn't he die an unfitting death at the hands of mere executioners? Little Bonnie asked curiously.
Little Bonnie was better off now, having already come to terms with her father Kuma's death in the manga. I wish I could regain a child's perspective to see the world in pink as I did when I was a kid. Hearing this, Ivankov, Dragon, Kuma, King Sorbet Bulldog, and his mother Kani nodded as if they agreed with Garp's words. Hey kid, listen to me, Roger's end as the Pirate King in the manga is the reason for everything happening now. He paved the way for the next Pirate King, and perhaps he foresaw the end of this world at the moment of his execution, departing with the sight of the world's end in the eyes of all those whose hearts were moved by his words about the One Piece. What could the One Piece be, I wonder? I have a feeling that this Whitebeard, who sacrifices everything for my grandson at this moment, knows as well.
And you, son?
Garp said, looking at Dragon.
I know my counterpart well.
He won't fight in this battle, and even if he does, he will only protect the execution platform and perhaps won't have the strength to protect it from Luffy.
Well, not perhaps, he won't.
With that, Garp's gaze returned to the next chapter of the volume. In the next chapter, titled Marineford Marine HQ, Orisu Plaza, Whitebeard, his sons, and his allied crews were deeply engaged in events that had escalated to an unprecedented level. The art store on Sphinx Island was unusually quiet at this time. After a while, it seemed as if the readers had awakened from the hypnosis caused by the chapter.
Oh my God! What's happening here? Fight! 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 Everyone's fighting. Even Garp joined the battle.
Oh, what a strong punch Marco took from Garp.
He hit the ground like an arrow. My God! Diamond Jozu made Akiji bleed.
How did Akiji survive Whitebeard's stab in the first place?
That's puzzling too. They said Whitebeard used haki, right? Man! Akainu face-to-face with Whitebeard. When did that happen?
The readers were in an unprecedented state of excitement at this moment. Whitebeard and his sons felt the excitement in the air and shared the same emotions as the ordinary people in Sphinx.
Gorarara! This Admiral Akainu is interesting. Let's see what gave you the courage to stand before the old man.
Whitebeard's eyes gleamed with infinite disdain toward Akainu, who showed no respect before his counterpart.
Harsh, this is extremely harsh, Yui.
Meanwhile, Marco touched the right side of his face, sympathizing with his counterpart who had just been punched by Garp.
I can't believe it. Does Garp want to see his grandson executed this badly? The atmosphere in the art store on Batarilla Island was not much different from that in Sphinx. However, here, Roger pirates were present instead of Whitebeard's pirates. Although the war between the Marines and Whitebeard pirates did not necessarily concern them, the fact that Ace, their captain's biological son, was the one being sentenced to execution made them feel involved. Come on, Buggy, what has your counterpart been doing all this time? Isn't he supposed to show his hidden strength at this crucial moment and save Ace? Why is he still playing the clown, for heaven's sake? It's not like I know. Why are you asking me? Ask him, exclaimed Buggy. How are we supposed to ask a character in the manga, you idiot, said Gaban. Roger's pirates were teasing Buggy as usual. Despite the light-hearted banter, tension filled the air. Roger's pirates were more than eager to see how the events would unfold, knowing that each passing moment brought Ace closer to his fate. Their eyes were glued to the pages, anxiously hoping for a miraculous turn of events that would save their captain's son. Chapter 733, Whatever the end, we must accept it. Chapters Events *. Just you wait, Ace. In the midst of the chaotic war, Marco fixed his gaze on the execution platform where Ace was held. He then transformed into a full-fledged phoenix, spreading his wings like a mythical creature in the skies of Marineford, and soared towards the platform. As he neared it, a muscular figure leaped up and punched him hard in the face. Newly eye. The force of the punch sent Marco crashing back to the ground like an arrow, returning to where he started. Squad leader Marco, his followers shouted in concern. Marco reverted to his human form, a swelling visible on his right cheek. Who told you to make your move? Sengoku wondered upon seeing this. He had intended to intervene to stop Marco himself. They've finally come out. The legendary Marine. The pirates below swallowed nervously. Old man. Ace said, lost in thought. It's Garp, the pirates shouted in alarm. Garp took the initiative to sit in Akainu's chair below the platform. Garp. Whitebeard said. Who knew Garp better than him? They had fought many battles. If you want to pass, do it over my dead body. Brats. Garp seemed somewhat determined to stand as an insurmountable barrier to Ace. Garp. Roger sighed with a hint of sadness. Why is he doing this? Outside the couple's home in Batarilla, the gentle breeze made Rouge's hair flutter in a beautiful scene. She asked why Garp was doing this because she hadn't seen it coming. Maybe her husband Roger could give her some convincing answers. This is the best he can do right now instead of sitting there beside Ace and lamenting. Marco seemed like a good target to vent his frustration. Roger said with a slightly humorous tone. But, doesn't this mean he has accepted Ace's fate? Rouge asked again. What can he do in this situation? I bet he wants more than anyone else to save Ace from his predicament, but not at the cost of his many years of good reputation as a respected Marine hero. The consequences of such betrayal would be more severe than you can imagine. It's as if Roger hadn't given him anything in return for taking care of his son and saving his hide from troubles too. Roger said regretfully. But he gave him a grandson, no, closer to a lovely son. Didn't he? Rouge wiped the tears that overcame her in that moment. She didn't want to see Garp standing in the way of saving her son from this ordeal. As difficult as this was for Garp, it was equally hard for her. And even for Roger, who didn't show it. Let's see where things will go from here. Roger said. But before that, I will contact Garp to know what he thinks about this scene. Immediately after, Roger activated the forum bracelet on his wrist, and a small transparent screen appeared in front of him. He searched for Garp's name, ignored the many users with the same name, and chose the verified account, then sent a message. I told you that what will happen, right? In the kingdom of Sorbet, Garp was feeling extremely conflicted after witnessing the latest scene in this chapter. What do you think about what your counterpart did? Dragon asked his father with an expressionless gaze. Do you think he would just sit there and let Marco do as he pleases? Wouldn't that be collusion with the pirates? Garp replied. Ha! But Sengoku has no reservations. He wouldn't sit and watch Marco do as he pleases. Maybe you shouldn't have moved at all, Sengoku said it himself. Well, he must be tired of sitting without doing anything in a war of this magnitude. At that moment, Garp looked at the forum bracelet on his wrist, where a distinctive message appeared. He ignored the endless posts and messages and focused on the verified account named Roger. GOLD Roger, your counterpart has disappointed me. I once thought you valued family more than anything else. After the slap from his son, came a second slap from the damn pirate who had always been his greatest enemy. Garp's face turned red with anger. He immediately wrote, Monkey D. Garp. Why should you owe me anything, you scum pirate? Roger received this message but didn't reply immediately. Monkey D. Garp, why should you owe me anything, you scum pirate? In truth, Roger didn't owe Garp anything. He had done what he did without anything to compel him. Roger felt embarrassed. He had rushed to message Garp, but what the manga had shown so far was not something Roger liked to see at all. His son had been a victim of everything up until now, and even at this moment that seemed like the end, why did his son have to go through all this, when none of what Roger had done was his fault? Whatever the end of the story for our son, we must accept it, my dear. In the end, Roger smiled and kissed his wife's forehead, who nodded despite her sadness. The hero Garp has joined the defense. The pirates despaired upon seeing this scene. At this moment, Whitebeard spoke. Don't get caught up in his name. He's just another old marine. Fufun. Hearing that, Garp chuckled. The heat around Whitebeard intensified as if a volcano had just erupted. The voice of the volcano came as Akainu spoke. You're from the same age. Keep your eyes on the enemy in front of you. A magma hound appeared around Whitebeard, ready to gnaw his flesh and bones and burn their ashes too. But Whitebeard didn't even blink in the face of this. He moved his weapon and crushed the magma hound. Don't go ruining the town. Akainu complained. I thought I told you to try and stop me. Whitebeard mocked again. In O'Hara, most readers were at this scene that raised their heartbeats. Don't get caught up in his name. He's just another old marine. Oh. Oh my God. He is publicly belittling Garp. Does this mean he doesn't respect Garp? Maybe. Garp's intervention must have annoyed him a lot. Why wouldn't it? Right now Garp is an enemy and an obstacle that must be eliminated. Oh. Akainu is terrifying. He reminded him that he's from the same era as Garp. Ha ha ha. But Whitebeard isn't losing the war of words either. Try to stop me if you can, you scoundrel. Foo foo foo. I want to see Whitebeard destroy Marineford completely. Daffy got more excited than he was initially. I want nothing more than to see this dog admiral get crushed under the old man's quake. Anil shouted annoyed. His face annoys me a lot too. Rosinante joined in. Annoying. Mihawk also said, who had a real clash with Akainu in reality too. After all, Akainu was someone on the blacklist for hunters. Previously he almost killed one of their legendary hunters. Chapter 734. Should I have been born? Batarilla Island. Rob suddenly appeared in an art store on this autumnal island, having left the care of his daughters to Olivia and his other wives. What's the matter, Shanks? As he was about to leave the art store, Shanks stood in his way. Shanks was holding a volume of The Summit War, open to one of Ace's flashbacks. Forgive me, elder brother, I wanted to ask you a question, Shanks said awkwardly. Hearing that, Rob smiled and gave him the go-ahead. Of course, go ahead, you can ask me anything. It seems the volume is still midway through. I want to know if my counterpart will have a role in this war. I mean, a more influential and practical role than just stopping Kaido from affecting this war. It was clear this was what was bothering Shanks. Do you really want to know? Rob patted Shanks' shoulder as he was about to leave. Shanks nodded repeatedly in confirmation. Well, since you want to know this badly, I'll tell you. The red-haired pirate's why before Rob could finish what he wanted to say, someone interrupted him. Rob-san, please wait. The person who said that was Rayleigh. Next to Rayleigh stood Shikuyaku with a beautiful smile on her face, having arrived not long ago after finishing her business in Ohara and Amazon Lily. Rayleigh? Let me guess, you don't want to hear it, right? Rob looked at Shanks and then at the rest of Roger's pirates. Strength in numbers, kid. You have to wait to find out what happens next. After saying that, Rob left the art store, leaving Shanks sighing in disappointment, which quickly faded as he returned to enjoy the manga events again. After leaving the art store, Rob walked briskly towards the place where he sensed both Roger and Rouge's presence, which was definitely the couple's house. Back to where Roger and Rouge were, the couple was completely engrossed in the chapter's events, as if they were completely disconnected from reality. Chapter's events **. With the sound of explosions and the intensifying war, Ace's body trembled as he tried to bury his head in the platform again. What's the matter? Fire Fist. This caught Sengoku's attention, who asked him. The same went for Garp, who sensed his mood from under the platform. Ace? Gold, Roger? You mean Gold Roger? Do I know about him? At this moment, distant memories from his childhood echoed in Ace's mind. Do you know why so many people are hurt by pirates? It's all Gold Roger's fault. Standing before a group of delinquent youths, younger Ace, about 9 or 10 years old, listened with a deadpan expression. He's someone who shouldn't have been born. The youth in front continued speaking frankly about his opinion of Roger. He's an unbelievable piece of trash. He caused trouble when he was alive. And caused even more when he died. Remember this, he's the worst scum in the world. Hearing that, young Ace's nerves tensed, and he seemed to become very angry. What? Hey! Why are you getting mad? Who are you, runt? Kaya. What did you do when you went into town? Ace. Another familiar voice echoed in Ace's mind, this time it was his second mother, the woman who raised him. They're saying a kid almost killed some delinquents in town. It's a huge mess. The sound of the war below mixed with the woman's voice in his head. Then he heard his own voice as a child responding to the woman. Oh. I thought they were actually dead. What? She exclaimed. You want to know about Roger? Roger! Don't even mention that damn name, kid. Every time Ace asked about his father's name, his face darkened and became more somber with each similar answer he received. Boa ha ha. Hey Ace, I've heard you've been causing some trouble. Garp reached Ace's hiding place by the sea, laughing his usual laugh before saying that. Gramps. Do you have any grandkids? Are they happy? He asked. Yeah, his name's Luffy, I think. He's being raised well, replied Garp. Gramps. Yeah? Young Ace's voice seemed to become lower and lower, but the last words he said to his grandfather echoed strongly in Ace's current mind. Should I have been born? As did his grandfather's words. Keep on living, and you'll find out. Roger and Rouge emerged from their immersion in this scene and its details after the flashback ended. The couple looked at each other, tears welling up in their eyes. Roger gently raised his hand and wiped the tear line from Rouge's cheek to the corner of her eye. The gentle freckles on her face looked like grains of golden sand, making her more beautiful and unique than other women. Rouge did the same, wiping away the tear of this tough man who had never cried before. This was the first time she saw him shed a genuine tear of emotion. Sensing her gentle hand on his cheek, Roger held it and took a deep breath, regaining his cheerful smile before saying, I somehow expected my son to have such an explosive temper in his childhood. It's exactly like me when I was a kid. But Rouge laughed softly upon hearing that. Then she said, I can imagine that. I too would have gone mad if someone talked badly about my father in front of me when I was a child. Wah-aha! They got what they deserved. He inherited my strength, so even as a child, he's very dangerous. They're lucky he didn't kill them as he thought. Roger laughed.
Well, at least he didn't hate me for no reason. It turns out now that he saw the world's impression of his evil father, which even made him question whether it was right for him to be born into this world. Oh, how I wish I could appear before this child and hug him and tell him the answer to that question. I have the same desire, and I would be more gentle with the child than you. Wahahaha. Anyway, it seems that Garp was present, but he's a big fool and doesn't know how to deal with children. Keep on living and you'll find out. Why are you so mysterious with a child, you fool? Don't you see he needs much more than those words? Well, what if I gave you two the chance to fulfill this desire? With a smile on his face, Roger, who already sensed Rob's arrival, turned around. Rouge was more surprised by Rob's words than by his sudden arrival, which they were used to after all. I would do anything to get such a chance, Roger said with great determination as Rouge nodded with rising excitement. But that will have to wait until we finish reading the volume. I still need to know the answer he will get to his question. After all, my son must be convinced and proud of his birth in this world. Should you have been born? Of course, you should. You are my son. Gold Roger. Chapter 735, Decisive Akainu. Chapters Events Asterisk. Iva. Luffy sensed Ivankov's arrival beside him. Ha! You're still conscious. Ivankov was surprised by the situation. This is my last request. Please listen. Luffy said with difficulty. Clear a path. Jaya. The chaos of the Summit War continued unabated. Explosions and clashing weapons created a cacophony that echoed throughout Marineford. Amid the turmoil, Ace's internal struggle was mirrored in the violence of the battlefield. I'm awful. On the execution platform, Ace's body trembled. His thoughts were a whirlpool of memories and regrets, causing him to cry. Ace, just wait, exclaimed Jimbei. Just one more step. We'll be right there. Ace. Ace. We'll save you. Just you wait, Ace. Don't give up. These were the words of pirates being stabbed and even dying, all reflected in Ace's tearful eyes at that moment. Damn it. I'm so messed up. At a time like this. My old man. My little brother. My brothers in arms. Their blood is being spilled all around me. Ace's tears dripped onto the platform intensely as he spoke. And I'm so happy. I can't stop my tears. At a time like this, I want to live. Hearing this, Garp's expression saddened, and he couldn't stop his own tears either. Roger and Rouge, seeing this scene, were silent, absorbing the weight of Ace's words. Roger clenched his fist with a mixture of pride and sorrow in his eyes. He felt proud that his son found the answer he needed about whether he should have been born, and sad because Ace's tears cut into his heart like knives. The burden of happiness in such a battlefield where people fight for you. It's hard for our son to carry on his shoulders. I doubt he would be sad even if he died after that, Roger said as he wiped his wife's tears again. Rob watched them, deeply feeling their emotions at that moment. Ace's journey isn't over yet. Hearing this, Roger and Rouge nodded. Then let's see things through to the end. We'll see the end of his journey. For Ace, for our son. They said. Just after they re-immersed themselves in the chapter, they were forced to burst into laughter due to Buggy's reappearance. That's how One Piece manga was. Right after a dramatic event, a scene equally funny must follow. Thunder rumbled and struck the jagged rocks below, shattering them into pebbles and dust. A thunderstorm had just formed above Onigashima on Urura Island. In the constantly turbulent New World, Kaido was exhilarated by the events of the Summit War. Chapter after chapter, page after page, he never tired of this manga for even a moment. Wararararo. In my life, I've never seen Whitebeard this weak. Is this my fate too as I grow older? Will we all become weak with the specter of aging? Warararo. That dog Admiral is lucky he isn't facing the Edward Newgate I know, or he'd be counting his broken bones in hell right now. I see that old Whitebeard's hockey has weakened. This time, it was King, Kaido's first subordinate, who spoke. Blah refreshing. Kaido poured an entire jar of sake into his mouth before saying, "Not just hockey, but everything." Kaido's eyes reflected the image of Whitebeard, who had been bleeding from the mouth all the time due to Squarto's stab. Even his mind has deteriorated. Whitebeard wasn't this kind to forgive a traitor. Warorororo. TSK, trash. This isn't the Edward Newgate I know. This is just an old man dying. He's going to die, he's going to die. I bet my counterpart wanted to save the old man from death, and that red-haired bastard stopped him because he wanted the old man to die, Warororo. Queen. Write this in a post on the forum. Let the world know the truth about red-haired Shanks. Warorororo. Not far from Aurora Island, in the central prison, specifically in Golden Lion Shiki's cell. Jihahaha. What's wrong with you, Newgate? The scene of Whitebeard nearly falling to his knees and vomiting blood due to the injury was reflected in Shiki's eyes. Whitebeard clutched his chest, then knelt with a pained expression on his old face. Marco's expression changed upon seeing this, wanting to reach his father's side quickly. You! God damn it! Whitebeard vomited blood from the impact of his previous injury. Boss! His sons who saw this cried out in concern. Even you can't overcome old age. Whitebeard. Akainu's arm turned into searing hot magma as he said that. This is what I was most afraid of. Thinking this, Marco ran, trying to reach his father in time to protect him. Fights are won and lost in a single instant. Saying this, Kizaru had already injured Marco, who had his back turned, with his deadly laser shots. Ah! Marco groaned weakly. Marco! Jozu shouted angrily. Looks like you aren't focused. Jozu was then half-frozen in an instant by Akiji. Taking advantage of Whitebeard's moment of unprotected weakness, Akainu plunged his magma arm violently into Whitebeard's chest, deepening the injury. This was a decisive blow. Seeing this shocked Ace as the battlefield fell silent. Arg! Bastard! Coward! Scoundrel! Oh, how I want to crush your damned doghead! Seeing how Akainu exploited Whitebeard's moment of weakness, Shiki felt almost insane. He could no longer distinguish between reality and manga, believing that Akainu had harmed someone who was once a comrade in a way even despised among pirates. Seeing this, Moria's head shrank into his neck in fear, thinking he would get kicked again in another rampage by the mad golden lion. He, that bastard is more evil than the pirates, I kind of like it. He managed to take down Edward Newgate without mercy, oops, how violent, jihahaha. Once again, Shiki's impression changed. Signs of madness show that a person doesn't stay on one stance after all. But undoubtedly, the Golden Lion was thoroughly enjoying the manga events as if he were part of the Summit War. On Sphinx Island, a heavy silence hung over the art store. Whitebeard's eyes widened as he witnessed this scene. Akainu, isn't it? What about I find you now and tear your dog head off your shoulders? Veins bulged on Whitebeard's forehead, indicating he was truly enraged by a mere manga scene. Chapter 736, The Pride of Whitebeard. Sorbet Kingdom. Your counterpart has some common sense, but unfortunately, that common sense doesn't apply to Luffy. Dragon was sitting with one leg crossed over the other, flipping through the pages of the manga. He had just reached the part where Akainu exploited Whitebeard's moment of weakness to deepen his wounds. The scene then shifted to Ivankov and Luffy. Luffy's body was completely drained of strength and energy, unable even to move. At this point, Ivankov was hesitant to inject Luffy with temporary tension hormones again, as it would deplete the last drop of his already exhausted body. But Luffy, who saw that Ace's death would mean his own death too, didn't care. He just wanted to regain the strength to stand and run to save Ace. Seeing how Ivankov eventually yielded to Luffy, Dragon sighed and said, after looking in Ivankov's direction, "Of course he's stubborn, he's your son. It wouldn't be fair to blame my counterpart if something happened to him after that," Ivankov commented nervously. Although he hadn't yet reached the level of his future counterpart, he was well aware of most of his Devil Fruit's abilities. The tension hormones only stimulated the body's potential and didn't create vitality out of thin air.
This meant they gradually consumed the user.
That's why Ivankov refused to inject Luffy with more hormones, as it would cause him significant harm in the near future, possibly even death.
It's all right, my grandson is strong, he can do it,
Garp said calmly, then turned the page to the next chapter. Something told him that Luffy would surprise everyone again. After all, he was his grandson, Monkey D. Garp.
Put. But don't be too harsh on Kobe, you fool.
At the moment he saw how Luffy punched Kobe hard in the face, knocking him out quickly, Garp spat out all the cake he had been eating.
Ohara. Hancock often intervenes to save Luffy from his predicaments. The elder sister is really keen on saving him. Everyone already knows that. Is this love? Elder sister Hancock is ruthless. Ha ha ha. At this point, her help for Luffy must be completely exposed, right? She's been doing it openly from the beginning.
Darashishi, that's why elder sister is ruthless. What are you saying exactly? Why do you keep associating this woman with me all the time? I have nothing to do with what I do in the future.
Ha ha ha. Take it easy, elder sister. We're just joking.
Robin, Yamato, and the others were thoroughly enjoying Hancock's embarrassed reactions every time a scene of her saving Luffy appeared in the Summit War.
It wasn't just the children.
Even Olivia, Belmere, Toki, Sora, Glora, and the others were enjoying it, especially little Hancock's cute reactions, unable to resist teasing her.
Ha! It looks like things are getting worse for the Whitebeard pirates. At this rate, they'll be completely wiped out. Things are out of control. How sad. What's the matter? As long as Whitebeard hasn't fallen, I don't see the Whitebeard pirates losing anytime soon. Are you blind? Look at this.
Even though Marco relies on his Phoenix abilities to heal his injuries, he's been secretly restrained with Kairoseki cuffs. He was hit again by Kazara's laser, so he's doomed.
Another strong captain, Jozu, has been completely frozen by Akiji, he's down. And this. Whitebeard has been completely surrounded and brutally beaten with various attacks in his moment of weakness.
The damage has increased to a horrifying extent. How will this outcome be changed?
The readers in the art store in Ohara were on edge due to the current events in the manga. Scenes of the Whitebeard pirates being brutally beaten by the Marines were not happy ones for the readers, even though they hated pirates. But for some reason, the Whitebeard pirates were not the usual type of pirates. They were more like a family, an ordinary family anywhere in the world. Whitebeard was just a father trying to save his son. Why did the Marine have to go to such lengths to eliminate this old man? Chapters Events Asterisk. Whitebeard pirates, you're finished. After taking down Jozu, Akiji said that as he exhaled cold air. Take out the rest of the squad leaders. Sengoku announced, then looked towards where Whitebeard was and shouted. Don't slow down. Men, all of you go get Whitebeard. After plunging his volcanic fist into Whitebeard's chest, Akainu retreated and allowed the rest of the vice-admirals and strong soldiers to do as the fleet admiral commanded. They attacked him with everything they had, bullets, swords, bazookas, and abilities.
Whitebeard's blood flowed profusely, but he remained standing.
Seeing this, the Whitebeard pirates shouted, "Boss!"
They drew their weapons and rushed to protect their leader.
"Stay back!" exclaimed Whitebeard, preventing his sons from advancing. Whitebeard pulled a sword stuck in his body and said, "You all think that this is enough to kill me. I don't need any help, ha.
With eyes red from rage, Whitebeard swung his weapon, crushing all the soldiers who attacked him.
I am Whitebeard.
Seeing this, the nearby Marine soldiers thought, he's a monster.
Whitebeard regained his stance and stood, "If I die, will my death have any meaning?
I know that I must watch over my son's futures.
I can't afford to die. Right, Ace?"
Fasa and Vista, along with the rest of the commanders and even Jinbei, gathered behind Whitebeard, catching the Marines' attention.
What? They're gathering behind Whitebeard. Ha! Ha, it doesn't matter if you people don't understand. We will protect our boss's pride.
Back to Sphinx Island, where all the Whitebeard pirates, including their allied crews, were gathered. They all felt complex emotions at this moment. They never expected, even in their dreams, that the day would come when they saw themselves so helpless. Sigh, weakness is terrible. Whitebird sighed regretfully. He currently had blonde hair, tight muscles, and a perfectly strong body without any hidden injuries or wounds. He was 54 years old, at the peak of his strength, but compared to his old counterpart, it was truly pitiful. But in this weakness lies unparalleled strength. How proud I am of you, my sons. Whitebeard wiped a small tear from his smiling face at that moment. When he saw how his sons stood behind him to protect the last thing he still had, he couldn't help himself, and his emotions overwhelmed him. They were protecting their father's pride. And what was that? Perhaps just a symbol on his back, or maybe his back itself that hadn't been touched by even dust throughout the battle. They had to protect you. They failed miserably in that. I feel ashamed of my counterpart. Will I be this weak in the future? Damn it! Starting today, I will double my training more than twice. I will never allow this future to repeat itself. How shameful to let the enemy get to the boss in such a brutal way while we stand by and watch. Is this all that the Whitebeard pirates and their allied crews can do in the future? Whitebeard's sons began to ruthlessly criticize their future counterparts. This scene made them feel a weakness and shame they had never felt before. Protecting Whitebeard's pride? It's a shame that this is all we can do, Oyaji. Marco said with gloomy eyes. Chapter 737, Luffy's Conqueror's Hockey Sweeps Marineford. Chapter's Events. I'll show you the future right now if you want to see it that badly, Whitebeard. Seeing Whitebeard still standing despite all the damage and his determination to protect his son's future before his death, Sengoku felt somewhat provoked. Thus, he gave the green light to the executioners. Do it. Hearing this, the executioners raised their swords, ready to carry out the execution. Ace closed his eyes, ready to accept his fate. Ace. Seeing this, Whitebeard pirates shouted in tension. Pointless. Do you think I can't stop that? Cough. Whitebeard scoffed weakly. Despite his current weakness, he was prepared to easily stop the execution. Look, Whitebeard, exclaimed Sengoku. Damn. Ah. Whitebeard touched the bloody hole in his chest with a terrible sense of pain that prevented him from intervening in the execution. Stoop. As the executioner's swords neared Ace's neck, a chilling wave of mysterious mental power emanated from Luffy's scream. This power caused the executioners to faint and fall before executing Ace. Hundreds of soldiers and pirates near Luffy also fell unconscious. Sengoku's eyes widened at this sight. Ace was also shocked. That was the Conquerors. One of Whitebeard's commanders was stunned. In a moment of silence, the battlefield hushed. Whoa, are you serious? Akiji frowned in disbelief. Hey, did you just... Ivankov locked eyes on Luffy, who started running again and asked incredulously. I'm coming, Ace. Oblivious to what he had just caused, Luffy resumed running towards the platform. That kid. At this moment, Whitebeard felt that Luffy was not just Ace's brother but held a much deeper background. Foo. In the dark empty throne hall, an eerie laugh echoed at this moment. As the ethereal and alluring laughter ended, the sound of a page turning rose. Due to the quietness of the place, the sound of page turning could be easily heard. Even the deep breathing of the nearby 5 elders could be heard. This is too much stimulation for the little hero. Of course, he would explode like this. Foo. Pressure creates explosions after all. Imu's red eyes gleamed dimly as memories of an ancient battle surfaced. Let me see how you will save your brother from the clutches of justice, Monkey D. Luffy. These were the last words Imu said before indulging in this wonderful story again. One Piece. At the bottom of the stairs leading to the empty throne, the 5 elders had complex feelings after hearing their lord's words. They remembered it, how pressure creates explosions, the anxiety that their enemy's last words might indeed come true.
No, maybe they were witnessing the process of its realization in this manga, weren't they? Oh my god. I suddenly got chills. This feeling. Awesome. Luffy is amazing. He did it again. This power. Conqueror's Haki, right? The same incredible power that made the Amazon Lily female warriors faint at that time. The same power Silver's Rayleigh unleashed at that time. Amazing. Luffy has this kind of superpower. Look at Akiji's reaction. It seems to be much more than just mental power. In the domain of the gods in Marigoa, the holy knights covered their ears so as not to hear more of the enthusiastic celestial dragon's nonsense. They have so many sources of knowledge stored in their palaces and know nothing about the types of haki. What a shame. Recently, I've seriously been wondering why we've been nurturing these pigs for the past hundreds of years. Saint Garling commented mercilessly. Marine Ford. Conqueror's Haki, once again. That boy, what does that mean? It would be dangerous to allow him to leave the battlefield alive for sure. He possesses invincible potential. His haki is growing at a terrifying rate. It was at the lowest level of intensity just a few months ago. He could only scare Duval's bull. How did he move from that level to this level capable of knocking out the elite of the Marines and New World pirates in this record time? It's terrifying to imagine the power he will reach after years if trained by a professional. My counterpart should definitely not ignore this. What will Garp do, I wonder? In an instant, the general mood within the Fleet Admiral's office changed. Luffy became the center of attention once again. What's the matter? Rob asked with a smile after seeing the astonished look on the faces of the couple who were watching the previous scene in the manga. It's amazing, this amount of strong brotherly love capable of awakening Conqueror's Haki, terrifying. In Batarilla, Roger felt unparalleled satisfaction after seeing this scene. He is his only remaining brother in that world after all, he doesn't want to lose him no matter what. Rob commented with a smile. That's true, that's why I don't even want to know how it will affect Luffy if he happens to lose him. Rouge closed her mouth with sad feelings as she began to shed tears again just thinking about it. Well, that would be extremely difficult, you know? Rob nodded. That grandson can't wait to surprise me again and again. Boa ha ha. As expected from my grandson. This level of Conqueror's Haki is enough to crush the pride of any king on the sea. In Sorbet, everyone could hear Garp's roaring laughter at this moment. Amazing. Dragon's smile grew larger as Luffy's determined face to save Ace at any cost reflected in his eyes. This is the kind of man the world needs to be free and return to its former glory. My son is exactly this kind of man. How proud I am of you, Luffy. Sphinx Island. What a reliable ally. Gorarara. Whitebeard laughed after seeing this powerful display of kingly qualifications. We have a rising king by our side, folks, what are we afraid of? Monkey D. Luffy, now I understand why this boy is the protagonist. He's so pure and at the same time has so powerful willpower, even I don't see limits to what this boy can reach in the future. I'm starting to understand somewhat what's happening in this world. Young Whitebeard looked at the old and injured Whitebeard in the next chapter, who had a smile of understanding on his face, as if they shared the same thoughts at this moment. When he ordered all his subordinates to support and protect Straw Hat Luffy. All that's happening here is for his sake alone, that's what lies behind the will of D, this world desires freedom after all. Chapter 738, One Step Closer. Excitement reached unprecedented levels among manga readers in the world of seas, levels not seen for a long time. The world was literally boiling at this moment. With each additional scene reached in the escalating Summit War, excitement was nearly reaching saturation. This was even before the end of the war, and readers had yet to uncover most of its secrets and what was brewing beneath its surface. After Whitebeard ordered his sons to provide all possible support to Luffy, Luffy's steps quickened and became smoother, managing to get just one step away from his brother Ace. At this moment, when Garp stood in Luffy's way,
readers held their breath as if they themselves had collided with this formidable wall, not Luffy.
Is that true?
Roger and Rouge were shocked upon hearing what Rob said, to the extent that they momentarily forgot about the One Piece manga that had reached unprecedented thrilling events. Rouge felt her husband knew much more than he should, yet he was still utterly shocked by what he just heard. Even I won't be spared from the impact of my strict power.
My power won't tolerate mistakes.
Thus, Imu, the beautiful woman today, might become a demonic man tomorrow.
Rob explained. Does that mean the world corrects itself based on the One Piece manga? Does it mean my illness might return to end my life before Luffy's birth? Roger wondered with a bright smile on his face. No. It's not that strict. My power doesn't tolerate the loopholes I filled with my mind when I awakened in this world. What I did to change fate has nothing to do with what shouldn't be in the first place and appeared only because I imagined it that way. For example, Jewelry Bonnie, the adopted daughter of Bartholomew Kuma, is actually.
Rob paused for a moment when he saw the shocked expressions of Roger and Rouge, then continued. She is actually a non-existent entity. Her entire existence is based on my assumption that she existed at this time. But the truth is, she wasn't supposed to be born now at all. The same applies to many characters but to varying degrees and much less extreme than Bonnie's case.
I don't understand why you're telling us this. Roger retreated and sat down with a depressed smile. You must feel it already. With each chapter of the One Piece manga you read, that feeling must grow and become more real than before, right?
Rob said with a smile.
You don't know what's in Laugh Tale, do you? Roger asked with certainty. Lost between what she heard and what she couldn't believe, Rouge became more confused than necessary.
She even began to doubt her own existence, no, the existence of the entire world. Her gaze fell on the One Piece manga, a living world of colors and expressions full of vitality, each character embodying emotions with a kind of genuine echo.
I'm not moving an inch, Luffy. I'm a vice admiral of the Marines.
This is what Garp said to his grandson when he blocked his way to Ace. The old man in the manga was still completely committed to the Marines even if it was at the expense of his family. Is this the real world? She wondered internally. Chapters Events *. Yuwa, what's that? Caught off guard, the Marines trying to stop Luffy from advancing further saw Inazuma use his ability to cut a straight path from the Marineford tiles, connecting it to the platform's end.
Crab man!
Luffy was also shocked to see this.
That's Inazuma the Revolutionary.
Some Marines recognized the Scissor Man who appeared suddenly.
Luffy, go. After preparing the way, Inazuma urged him to go. Got it. Thanks. Without hesitation, Luffy jumped onto the path connecting the ground to the platform, remembering to thank Inazuma for his help. Ace couldn't believe what he was seeing. His foolish brother was really one step away from reaching him in this war full of major figures. I'm here. Ace. Luffy's shout snapped Ace out of his shock. Don't let him get there. A Marine officer rushed to attack Luffy with a portable bazooka. But Vista intercepted and cut the projectile with his sword. Go, Straw Hat. Sengoku frowned upon seeing this. Everyone was helping Straw Hat. I won't let you go. Kazara turned into light threads, preparing to appear swiftly above Luffy. But Whitebird's weapon intercepted him. Go, Straw Hat. Go release Ace. Ace's brother. The pirates' cheers grew at this moment, and Luffy's smile widened with each step closer. Ha! Ha! Captain Buggy. Straw Hat's getting to the platform. No! That bastard's standing out. Buggy exclaimed. Stay back. Hi-ha. At the path's bottom, Ivankov and Inazuma prevented the Marines from chasing Luffy. Boom! Suddenly, dust scattered as a muscular figure appeared in the middle of the path between Luffy and Ace. Ah! Garp stood with a gloomy expression, blocking Luffy's path. Grandpa! Please move! Luffy didn't slow his running pace but tried to persuade his grandfather to step aside. I'm not moving an inch, Luffy.
I'm a vice admiral of the Marines, he exclaimed. The chapter ended with this dramatic scene between the grandson and his grandfather, making readers hesitate slightly before turning to the next chapter. Among the readers who hesitated too long was Garp himself.
Sorbet Kingdom.
At this moment, Garp had almost the same expression as his counterpart while reading this scene.
Is he serious?
Garp wondered, questioning if his counterpart was serious about blocking his grandson's path.
What do you think? Dragon asked. Of course, he's serious. He explicitly said he is a vice admiral of the Marines. Kuma replied. Even if that's the case, this is his grandson.
Garp was deeply affected.
Stop whining and go to the next chapter.
Dragon said with a smile, having already read what happened in the first scene of the next chapter.
If only. This is frustrating. Well, I can predict what will happen next.
Garp gave in and turned the page with a big smile on his face.
That's the spirit.
Unconcerned with what was happening between Luffy and Garp in the manga, Crocodile's main focus was still on the scene of his counterpart clashing with Mihawk.
Amazing. I want to get into this mood quickly. Crocodile was highly impressed by the demeanor and character of his counterpart in this war. Inazuma, your counterpart did a great job. Hi ha.
Ivankov patted young Inazuma on the shoulder, who also had a big smile on his face while reading the events and what his counterpart had done so far.
Chapter 739, The Fall of Garp. Reaching Ace's side. Chapters Events Asterisk. It's Garp the hero. The bridge is falling. Do something fast, Straw Hat Boy.
On the bridge that collapsed due to Garp's overwhelming power, Garp started speaking forcefully.
Luffy, I've been fighting pirates since long before you were even born. You'll only get through here over my dead body. Straw Hat Luffy.
Standing between Ace and Luffy, like the last barrier, Garp clenched his teeth and spoke.
That is the path you two have chosen. Gramps.
Ace felt sorrow for his grandfather and this fate.
As many memories returned to Luffy's mind. Don't be soft. You're gonna become the strongest Marine there is. If you're like that, the pirates will kill you in no time.
These were some childhood memories of how Garp was training Luffy to be the strongest Marine.
Luffy felt deeply saddened. I can't do that. Grandpa. Please move. If you can't, then Ace will die.
He said this as if urging him to continue.
No. Luffy didn't want this either. I've done plenty of things you don't like. I won't hold back. Garp gathered his fist, saying, Luffy. You're my enemy.
As his fist approached Luffy, Garp began to remember the two little boys he used to take care of.
Right now, I want to live. He closed his eyes as he remembered what Ace said minutes ago about wanting to live. Garp.
Sengoku sensed Garp's extreme hesitation and suffering at this moment when he decided not to hit his grandson and allowed him to punch him instead.
You wah! Garp took Luffy's punch and fell from the bridge like a projectile. Vice Admiral Garp.
Luffy jumped twice on the remains of the broken bridge and reached the platform.
Sengoku clenched his teeth, saying,
You're a father yourself, Garp.
After a little hesitation, readers around the world turned the page to the next chapter, embracing this emotion-filled scene.
Older readers who had grandchildren understood Garp's feelings and inner struggles completely in this scene. This scene carried a lot of emotions as Garp ultimately decided not to hit his grandson but let him hit him instead. Everyone realized that, after all, Garp wasn't weak enough to be defeated by his grandson's punch. It's more accurate to say he was defeated completely. In O'Hara, at the art store, Clover sighed sorrowfully about Garp's situation, which hadn't been good since the beginning of the war.
His burden is much heavier than it seems.
Homing added, commenting on Garp's situation.
Why can't he rebel? Brook asked curiously. Rebel against what? The world government? Or his justice? Vegapunk posed a deeper question. He can't rebel. Garp spent his life as a hero of the Marines. He can't give that up and become an enemy of the Marines even if it's for his family. Clover gave his opinion. I don't see that as favorable either.
I was also a vice admiral, and I understand what Garp-san feels. This time Saul spoke.
But from this scene, it's clear that blood is thicker than water.
Even if he said Luffy is his enemy, he couldn't force himself to punch his grandson and push him away from the platform like he did with Marco. Isho added, commenting on the scene.
Does that mean Luffy is stronger than Marco?
Of course not, but he has an advantage Marco doesn't.
He's Garp's grandson.
Garp said before, family is a completely different matter.
Even Sengoku understands that. Mihawk nodded at Isho's explanation and added.
Of course he understands that, or why else would he be the last person standing there next to Ace instead of Garp?
Fufudafi laughed, praising Sengoku's wisdom. It's interesting to see how Sengoku will react to Luffy's arrival. Will we finally see his power? Enel and Rosinante felt some excitement. This is the Fleet Admiral. The strongest in the Marines. Above the 3 admirals. What will his power be like? Marine Ford.
He really reached the platform. Sengoku was shocked at this moment after seeing Luffy put his foot on the execution platform. What's with this old geezer?
Sakazuki felt extreme anger at how Garp dealt with his grandson. Obviously, he's pretending. Well, if I were in his place, I wouldn't be able to hit my grandson either. Zephyr commented.
I feel sorry for Garp's situation.
Saru said sadly. Arara, it's annoying dealing with a rebellious grandson.
Internally, Kuzan felt sorrow for his teacher as well.
Don't tell me he's really going to free his brother? How scary. Borsellino found this turn of events interesting.
It's impossible for us to lose. If we lose this war and don't announce Ace's execution to the world, the pirates will go wild with excitement. The losses that will follow are unimaginable. The world cannot bear our loss against the Whitebeard pirates.
Sengoku described the consequences of losing the war in detail. Saving Ace from execution meant their total loss.
Hearing this, the admirals and vice-admirals focused back on the manga pages in their hands. The answer they all wanted lay here.
There it is. Golden Buddha, my power is being displayed in the manga for the first time. Boom! Instead of targeting the key in his hand, why didn't you target his head? Sakazuki hit the table and pointed his finger at Borsellino while repeating. Well, why don't we calm down, Sakazuki-san? It's obvious that my counterpart doesn't want a personal enmity with Garp. Borsellino said calmly. For God's sake. What is Mr. 3 doing here? Sengoku didn't care about Sakazuki's endless nonsense as he almost lost his mind when he discovered that Mr. 3 was one of the executioners. What's this? This is scary. What a monster. How will Luffy survive this monster? Is this the power of the Fleet Admiral? This? Who? Is this my stupid counterpart? What's he doing here? This is impressive. In the Rashwan Kingdom of the South Blue, Galdino adjusted his glasses with a big look of admiration on his face after getting a clear view of the scene in the manga. Will I be your wax wall again? That's fine if it's for my protection too.
As expected, for Bonchan's memory, so my counterpart values true friendships that much.
Galdino felt some happiness with a little sadness when he remembered Mr. 2, whose fate was still unknown and impelled down. This, amazing.
This time Galdino couldn't contain his emotions and shouted excitedly. Well, the readers in the art store in Rashwan didn't care about Galdino's enthusiastic shouting because they were shouting with excitement too.
After all, the awaited scene had arrived. Oh my God! These golden flames! This symbol! This explosive power! Oh hoo! Finally! Ace has been freed! Luffy did it! I'm so excited. This is awesome. I'm crying. Ha ha ha. Don't forget that Mr. 3 helped with his ability to create a wax key identical to the one Kizaru broke.
All around the world, readers celebrated the release of Ace from his cuffs after a very long journey. Finally, Luffy did it.
Chapter 740, Freeing Ace. Chapter's events. He's falling. After Sengoku destroyed the execution platform with his immense power, Ace began to fall towards the ground. I'm making a key. We'll get those handcuffs off in a second. Mr. 3 immediately used his wax ability to create a key. Got it.
Luffy agreed, who was in his shrunken form after Deer Third had drained his strength.
Buggy's prisoners noticed Mr. 3 near Ace and pointed at him in shock. Captain Buggy. That's 3, bro. Why? Buggy was shocked.
Seeing this, the Marines decided to engulf the platform in cannon fire to ensure none of them escaped alive.
Fire. Take out the whole platform. Go save your brother.
This was the voice of the crying Mr. 2, who said this to Luffy. If I told you the reason I'm here is to fulfill my lost comrade's final wish, would you laugh at me? By saying this, Mr. 3 meant Mr. 2.
Of course not. Luffy vehemently denied it. Why would he laugh at him?
Even if it wasn't to save Ace, he would never laugh at him. Hearing that, Mr. 3 threw the wax key, identical to the original key, to Luffy, who quickly caught it.
Save your brother, Straw Hat. Seeing this, Sengoku was shocked. No. In an instant, the shells destroyed everything around the platform, including the platform itself. Fire Fist is still defenseless, he won't survive.
The Marines felt they had succeeded in their goal.
But suddenly, one of them noticed something strange. Inside that inferno. A tunnel of fire.
In the sky, a golden flame appeared, surrounding the cannon fire.
You've always been this way, Luffy.
You never listen to me, and you do the stupidest things. Rob looked at the duo, who were engrossed in the scene of the manga where Ace was freed from his shackles, for the last time. He smiled and took out a particular devil fruit, placing it on the table next to the door before leaving. The devil fruit was orange with symbols resembling burning flames. Neither Roger nor Rouge noticed Rob's departure, nor did they care since they had already bid farewell to him before he left. Their only concern was the special manga scene. They had waited for this scene for a very long time. At certain moments, they didn't believe this specific scene would actually happen. He did it. Luffy. Rouge couldn't hold back her tears of joy at this moment. She was completely overwhelmed with emotions, feeling immense happiness as she witnessed this unexpected scene. She even forgot the determined fate she saw in Rob's memories and convinced herself that this was the true end of this arc. Wahahaha! This is amazing! Even Sengoku couldn't stop him. Let me mourn for Garp a little. Why does this manga make me feel like I'm riding a roller coaster of emotions with all its ups and downs? With a big smile on his face, Roger couldn't hide how happy he was with this awaited scene. Luffy had finally succeeded in reaching his brother and removing his shackles. He had done exactly what he promised to do and saved his brother. Everything that happens from here on out can't be blamed on Luffy. Honey, don't forget that Mr. 3 made the key to the shackles. Rouge said with a smile. Of course, how could I forget? This was really unexpected, a small villain from the Alabasta arc having such a huge impact, truly impressive. Roger said with admiration. Look, darling, it seems Newgate is also shocked as he didn't expect this. Now I bet he'll stay to die here while paving the way for his sons to retreat to the New World. I just want to see how he'll do it, what he'll say, and how he'll put an end to a legend like him. A fitting end. Will the Marines allow this so easily? I mean Ace's escape? At this moment, Rouge began to feel worried. Far from Batarilla, in the New World where there's no place for the sought-after calm except inside the art store, exactly on Sphinx Island, Whitebird's homeland. Here inside the art store, the sought-after calm became the last desire of the readers. Meanwhile, the readers' excitement overflowed with the scene of Ace being freed from his shackles. Among the excited readers, the most enthusiastic were the Whitebeard pirates and their allies themselves. Oh my god, he did it! That kid! Great!
straw hot. These flames. That's ace.
Let me see how you'll capture and execute him this time after he's freed and regained his strength.
Ha ha ha. Come on. Come on. It's time to react.
I want to see the crew destroy Marineford along with Ace.
I want a perfect ending for the summit war with us on the summit. Calm down. At this moment, Whitebeard's voice echoed, silencing them.
They succeeded in freeing Ace, that's our victory. Escaping this place and securing the most lives during that is the greatest victory.
You want to defeat the Marines with just this strength? In your dreams.
Whitebeard didn't want to crush his children's hopes, but reality was imposing itself on them after all.
I mean, if I were 20 years younger, you wouldn't need to do anything with me by your side. But I'm not, I have no doubt about it. This battlefield will be my counterpart's grave, I can see that. The moment these words fell on their ears, they gasped in shock.
Marco couldn't comprehend that and shouted, "But Oyaji, why do you say that when the Whitebeard we know is still standing there like a mountain?"
That Whitebeard doesn't lose. He can't lose. Not to mention dying.
He looked at Marco and smiled, saying, "When you have to secure your children's future, loss becomes less bitter, and death is the last of your worries, my son. Listen, I bet that Whitebeard standing there in the middle of the summit war will say this soon.
Which ship can carry me to the new era?
Destroying Moby Dick already means my death. It doesn't take a wise mind or long thinking to come to this conclusion." Hearing that, the pirates who were ahead in the chapters felt as if their very beings were shaking.
Boahaha.
The old man's sacrifice wasn't in vain. The scoundrel grandson succeeded in saving his brother.
This is wonderful.
In the Sorbet Kingdom, Garp was very happy with this outcome. What an emotional scene, after all this effort, after all this persistence.
Luffy finally succeeded. What a great journey it has been. Ivankov felt great satisfaction and happiness after seeing how Luffy finally saved Ace. That's right, this perseverance and determination should be taught. Crocodile added with a smile. Which teacher can teach their students this?
I bet they'll learn it much better just through the manga. To be a man who doesn't give up, for your most dominant trait to be not giving up, this is something that can't really be taught but must be born with.
My son will be born with it, he'll be born with the destiny to be above these seas, my son will be born on top.
From these words, all the listeners felt the great pride Dragon had towards Luffy in the manga after all he had seen so far. This made Garp more determined once again. Alright then, today we'll search for Luffy's mother more seriously. That wraps up this part of What If Becoming a Mangaka in One Piece World.
Thanks so much for listening.
As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well.
See you in the next one.